genius.
All right. Can everybody be quiet for 1 second? I'm going to do a sound check on my input capture. 1, 2, 3. One of your two of y'all say something.
I can say a thing.
Hello, hello, hello. I can also say a thing.
Okay, and then
This is Matthew from Rhode Island.
Wow.
Rhode Island, Connecticut.
Josh, can you do one for me?
Yeah, this is one for you, Sir Robert. Hello.
Okay, those seem to show up. Let's start the stream, and I'm going to start recording. So that should work, and I think we're ready to go. I'm going to pull up my episode boilerplate. We will get into the action.
The action.
That's right. Alrighty.
Kids like to say on the Euro beats. Speaking of which, Jared's going to rap for us tonight.
Ooh.
Really?
As Yoshka?
Bard rap.
Hardcore.
There's this apparently famous interview with Eminem in which he says he scoffs at the idea that nothing rhymes with orange, and then he says a bunch of words that don't rhyme with orange. Like, all right.
What were some of them? Do you remember?
Door hinge.
Hmm?
In fairness, he also said they don't actually rhyme, but like if you're sloppy
rapping.
and you have low,
In fairness, he slurs his words.
yeah, that's and he
unclearly.
yeah he said that that's in his defense. He did say the style allows for.
I took the nucleus of his assertion to be that by saying the word orange, like orange, by saying it a certain way, you make it into the kind of word that becomes adjacent to other words. Whereas from the other pronunciation, it wasn't adjacent. So you're changing the relationship of the word to other words simply by the way that you say it, which I thought was a pretty valid poetic point.
I will rap. All right.
What about silver?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that rhymes with silver, like pickles, with the right accent.
Door hinge.
Door hinge. Hold on.
I think
Irresponsible.
The only thing that I've picked up in my life as far as like appreciating poetry is that when someone does, usually in hymns is when I hear it, a slant rhyme, like I can tell. I'm like, oh, you're supposed to pronounce it differently to make it rhyme, but I just hear all of those. I don't know why. Like the regular rhymes, I don't hear those.
Yeah.
Wait, you don't hear normal. You don't.
I only hear it when it doesn't.
They
Like,
don't,
I
they don't
notice
punch in his mind. They don't register as a rhyme.
that's a good rhyme.
Poetic
I'd be like,
form.
oh no, that's a terrible rhyme. That's the only thing I.
Huh.
But
But
I know they were trying. Like I noticed that they were trying.
All right. I'll do my quick intro here. This is The Dying of the Light, Season 3 of the Starfall Collective. The Starfall Collective is indeed a collaborative storytelling group using the Dungeons & Dragons game system as a vehicle for creating rich and compelling stories in a fictional world we've been developing together for a while. You can find out more about the collective as well as the stories we are telling at thestarfallcollective.com. We're back with another episode. Let's find out who's in this episode. I'm Sir Robert Burbage, a father and entrepreneur who has heard the dirty rumor that failure can be beautiful. I'm the host of this season's story. With me tonight are a few friends playing the characters in this drama. Last time we started with the local company. Let's start with the remote. Josh, why don't we go with you?
Hi, my name's Josh. I am playing Inkatink the Kinku. He has many voices, but not one, and was recently living his very best life for about 10 minutes as he was skimming through the treetops, leading his party away from danger towards a hopeful aperture of escape. So, we shall see.
All right. And Matt?
Hi, I'm Matthew Talamini, a writer and web developer from based in Providence, Rhode Island. You can find my stuff at MatthewTalamini.com. That's Matthew TALAMINI.com. I play the shirtless wizard Diamondback, who is currently invisible, which is not really his best life. In one way, it's his best life because he has a sort of like slick ninja thing going on, but also it's not really his best life because he really would like to be seen to be a cool slick ninja. So it's not. He's got a little ambivalent about being invisible, emotionally speaking.
Arguably his greatest failure at achieving the spirit of the ninja.
That's his greatest regret. And then let's go with Dwight.
Hi, my name is Dwight, but you can call me Tonight unless you want to fight, because that wouldn't be right.
Making rhymes like a door hinge. All right. Aaron Joy.
Aaron Joy playing Neno. Still buzzing off her vindication of having been right all along about this fake god being awful and her awesome god being awesome.
All
The
right.
buzz is slightly worn off with all the adrenaline that's trying to decide if it's in her body or fleeing as quickly as she is.
Leaving it behind.
And Jacob.
My name's Jacob Burbridge, and I will be playing Talad, not Splint, he's dead. And Talad has recently discovered that his supposed god is terrible and awful, as Neno said. Still not convinced about her god, but that'll be resolved later, hopefully.
Okay.
You might be more thinking about your uncle. And
Yeah, that's right. And just to remind everybody, we found out that the god of the Oravan people is named Simdoran. So, Jared, why don't you go?
hey, I'm playing Yoshka. He is kind of a stocky, beefy, Romanian gypsy looking guy. A bard.
All right. So, yeah, let's see. In our last episode, to my considerable surprise, personally and professionally as DM, nobody died. I did not expect that. As I said before, I was not trying to kill anybody. However, you made a series of choices that were extremely high risk, and yet you more or less pulled the caper off.
Except
You were spoiled by Team Sandbag with Diamondback and Ink and Tink
That's
and Belvari hanging out in the back.
and Yoshka. Yoshka was there clubbing dudes with
Yeah.
shillelaghs. All right. So I certainly expected the spiders and Gurlon and the giant, not weasel, not marmot,
Mongoose.
mongoose.
Yeah.
I expected those to kill somebody. Again, not by design, but rather by just what was happening. But Yoshka's quick thinking, having bound and subdued Spolash, Yoshka took the form of Spolash and went outside and started ordering the iron bell around, and probably saved the lives of, my guess is 2 of you, maybe 3. But here we are. What happened after that? Sorry. Hey, good boy. I know. What happened after that? Hey, sorry, Josh and Matt, can y'all see me?
No, we can't see you. We can hear you though.
I
We can't
thought
see
that
you
might
over
be the
here
case.
I mean, we can see you, but we can't see.
Yeah, I saw it not showing up on the screen. I don't know what that's about. Sorry, guys.
I'm entranced by your rich, mellifluous tones. So please continue.
Didn't I? All right. So that's from The Simpsons. Basically, to many people's chagrin, in the midst of combat, another Spolash arrived. Possibly the real Spolash. There have been competing theories about why he is standing on the field not doing anything. But he seems to be healed. You all have made good on your escape, or are making good on your escape, and run north. The, quote, about 20-minute jog north to the great river that separates this place from, the next bit of land. You know that there are great rivers that emanate from the headwaters, the Iron Bells. Locus of power is the headwaters. And you know that these rivers go out in more or less like spokes on a wheel. You haven't measured to see if it's evenly distributed or anything, but there are rivers that go out. And you have encountered two of these rivers wait a second. One of these rivers in the past. Diamondback's... Is that right? Yeah, one of these rivers in the past. Diamondback's clan lived by a river. When his town got destroyed, he fled across the river temporarily. When the Iron Bell pursued him across, he cut back and drifted downriver a while, sleeping to recover from the harrowing night. And then the rest of this adventure so far has been you all traveling sort of northward, counterclockwise around this great circle around the headwaters.
3 to 12, kind of. 3 to maybe 10 or 11 on the clock.
Let's see. You would have some sense of that. You actually probably have gone from
and I've been drawing a map about it, so
okay.
it would be helpful if you tell me what I know.
So you've been going mostly north, right? With a little bit of bending. Were you going to say something?
My imagination was from an 8 to a 10.5.
Yeah, that's about right. From about 8 o'clock on the clock, maybe 7, 8 to 10, 9, 10.
So we're on the west.
You are on the west.
Oh, I thought we were on the east. Okay.
But, just mirror your map and you're ready. So, yeah, I wanted to give you all a sense of that because these rivers are not like the streams you've encountered or not like, the kind of runoff from hills or anything like that. These are large rivers. They are hard to cross. They sometimes, there can be movement across them in shallows or there could even be in places things like ferries. Because there is not much motion between towns, you all now are wildly experienced in the wilds, right? Most people live in their towns their whole lives in order not to be murdered or eaten.
Or kicked by a horse.
Or kicked by their equine predators.
I don't know. Belvari
right.
seems to have more trouble in towns than out of towns.
There are some people who are out and amidst, and among those people are... I'm saying part of this for fans and people who are not yet fans but will be or else. The Wayfarers are people who make their living traveling between towns and spreading news, but never lore. That would get them executed quite quickly. And there are also pockets of random other people, and sometimes marauders or other people who live typically short lives.
Like the Wrens.
Like the Wrens. With Belvari's... let's call them something like clan or distributed group or something like that. Association. Okay, so you have been running north. You are north from Oravan. They are in pursuit of you. It is not a pleasant situation. You got to the river. None of you have been there before, including Talad. Though it is his home area, this is his second time being out. The first time only for a moment to welcome you in. He's a little disoriented because this is not like the cave he is from. He doesn't quite understand. He does understand, of course. It's nice that very much like the cave, there is a ground below and a ceiling above. So he's not feeling lost about... It feels cave-ish in some ways. And he's been in the forest that they have in their caves, so he understands that concept of a forest. But this is hard for him, not to mention the whole murderous family thing. And the sudden loss of his religion, as it were.
Column A, column B.
Yeah,
That happened like minutes ago.
Minutes ago, that's right. When you arrived there, Talad had in his pouch, because if you recall, he was a stoneworker who... as a part of his apprenticeship and his learning of stoneworking, had carved decorations into some underground tunnels where the rivers were. And as a part of that work, he had in his component pouch some water walking, because he was decorating all sides of that kind of underground river. And so he had enough for y'all to grab some, jump in the water. The way water walking works in this kind of situation, it does not make the water like a hard ground surface. It's not like you would, if you jumped into a pool and you had water walking, it's not like you would hit concrete. You would splash into the water, but more or less at will. As you buoy up to the surface, you can go all the way up and stand on the surface as well, because it's part of the magic of that water walking, as well as being able to kind of let yourself sink to floating. It does not give you the ability to like go arbitrarily deep. You're on the surface of the water, but you get to pick things like you could lay on it, or you could walk on it, or sit down, or something.
It makes water into like really thick jello.
Yeah, kind of that. With your ability to handle it.
Sir,
any
I don't
chance of
believe
damage
you've
on the
ever
fall?
attempted to stand on Jello.
What's that?
Is there any chance of damage on fall?
No, you won't have any fall damage for two reasons. There could be if you were just jumping a couple hundred feet into that. But remember, this outcropping that Talad has led you to, the underground rivers that he was familiar with, he knew emptied out into the Great River. You've come to this outcropping, and not very far below you, 20, 30 feet, is this kind of shooting out water. If you were to jump into that, it would carry you. You'd tumble and splash like a waterfall, but you won't take any damage, and you have extremely low risk of drowning or even hitting bottom, because this water walking is, pulling you towards the surface of the water. It wouldn't quite be like a Dr. Strangelove ride the water. It'd be more like a you tumble through it, and then when you're ready, you can come up. Does that sound good? Everybody understand?
I love it.
All right.
I'm ready to do it. Let's jump.
Yeah. Inkatink, I would like for you, please, to roll me a perception check. DC 10.
17.
Okay. I'll tell you the impact of that in a second.
Relvari, as he jumps off, puts a circle of, what's it called? Thorns at the top. Spike growth.
Spike growth. Okay.
Which turns it into difficult terrain, causes damage, and it is hidden so that if someone wants to try to detect that it's difficult terrain and it injures them, they have to do a perception check.
Okay. Good to know.
Wisdom check, I guess.
A wisdom perception check, yeah. So, you run up to... Sorry, you jump off. Sorry, and let me take a step back. We had discussed briefly. Does anybody want to talk about anything prior to jumping off? I just want to give you a chance to. You don't have to.
Diamondback, as they're on their way to jumping off, looks around and takes stock of the tactical situation. Do I actually see any Iron Bell in the sort of clearing behind us?
Let me check that. They're pretty far away, and there's not a clearing per se. It's that it's a mature forest, so you can see, some distance through trees. I'm gonna do because they're maybe a couple hundred feet away. I'm gonna do a 15 on whether you can see any. No, you don't see any, but you have been hearing, if you remember, Inkatink found and Diamondback picked up the sending stone that is acting almost like a walkie-talkie, or for Lord of the Rings people, a palantir type of deal, where they can hear what's being said near the other sending stone. Though they know not where it is, they can hear Spolash and his aide-de-camp, and they can hear things like the clopping of animals.
So Diamondback sort of surveys the strategic situation, and you wouldn't see it because it's invisible, but there's like a little bit of hesitation, and then he goes with the others.
Okay.
So Nino has, if we have 5 seconds to pause,
Sure.
Nino wants to huddle up and say, are we going across or are we going downstream?
Why don't you just do this conversation?
Okay.
And it happens. Go for it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a long way down. Okay. Are we going downstream or are we going to go to the other side?
Yoshiko looks over at Talad. Across?
Talad's just gonna be like,
shrug.
I've only been
Across.
in the underground. Okay.
Across. Okay.
Across it is.
So,
Tink goes,
okay.
Into the depths of the woods.
So, you possibly holding hands or something, and Toll is with you, possibly holding hands for safety, but you probably don't all want to because that could hurt if you got tangled up. But you can jump
Buddy
off.
system.
That's right. You can jump off. Now, you leap off, and I assume each of you, tell me if I'm wrong, would have, girded your belt or something to try not to lose anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you jump off. Here's your experience. You find yourself in free fall for a few moments. I don't know if any of y'all have ever been in a car accident or anything. I was once, and those 2 seconds took forever. All the kind of heightened perception and awareness. And that's kind of your feeling. None of you have been in a situation like this. Possibly none of you have really seen cliffs meaningfully. I mean, this is a really interesting feature. There have been some canyons, low canyons and stuff you've seen on this trip. But this is a strange geographical feature. Another thing that's pretty strange for all of you is that Diamondback's group and Sleen, who is no longer with us, are the only ones who may possibly have gone across a river before. Diamondback certainly has. But it's a big deal. It's not a known thing or a commonplace occurrence in your world to find somebody who has traveled across a river. Wayfarers stay in their wedge. They're hard to cross. There can be mean animals in them that are hard to see. When I say wedge, I just mean between the rivers from the headwaters. So y'all are doing something
That gets us XP. Something that gets us XP.
You certainly have gained some experience for this. Y'all are doing something that, if not unheard of, maybe it is unheard of, but if not unheard of, is at least very surprising even to you. This is a moment where you are having to rise to an occasion because you know what you're doing. You're going somewhere else in a bigger way than leaving your village. You don't even know what it means, but you know that you're shifting from one thing to another. Okay, so you are in this fall for a moment, and as each of you jump and fall, you hit this outward flowing kind of gushing torrent coming out. It's not a huge amount of water. It's not Niagara Falls. It's a large amount of water from a sizable underground stream, and it's pouring into this very wide river below you. And you find yourself alternately, as you hold your breath, submerged and emerging from this, and submerged and emerging as you go down, kind of bouncing around in the stream, plunging into the water below, into this churning, foaming sort of mix. The water below you is warmer than the water you touch. The water coming out from the cliff face, it's cold. It's been under the ground. You hit that, and it's got that shock to you. But when you feel yourself hit the bottom, there's some warmth in it, and you feel yourself carried for a moment. The darkness of your eyes being closed, because you're tightening up for this. The darkness you feel give way a little bit. The water calms down. You feel the cold wetness turning into warmer wetness. Not warm, just warmer. There's sun. There's not sunlight. There's a light and heat from the forest that you can feel now, not just the underground caverns. And you find yourself washing against the opposing shore. It feels sandy and also rooty, like you can feel the roots of trees that are partially exposed and in the water, as well as this kind of sandy shore. It's not a beach by any means, if even beach would mean anything to your characters. But it is certainly a shore that has been there for a while and has some maturity to it as a riverbank. And from, I know not exactly where, the word riparian popped into my mind, which I haven't heard in a long time. It means having to do with the banks of rivers. But anyway, I don't know, it just popped in my head. Wait. Riparian and dendriform.
No, I thought you can say, wait, it's gone.
No, I remember where I got them from. I learned those in my senior year. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Dendriform's a great one, by the way. Tree-like structures. Okay. So, I'm waiting for the washing machine to quit yodeling.
While we wait, Inkatink takes out some sandwiches for some riparian victuals.
There you go. So you've washed up. We'll do that in a second, actually. You're still washing up. And as you open your eyes, Inkatink, I don't actually know. Will you tell everybody how the water interacts with your feathery scaliness? We know how it would act on flesh, on humanoid flesh, but you're something different.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't get soaked like a cat. The water, his scales are extremely hydrophobic, and so as soon as he gets out, you see him kind of do a single shake and fluff, and he's pretty dry.
Okay. So the rest of you, your hair is wet. Yoshka especially, tell me if this is right, you have some furs on you and things. So you're dealing, not strangely, it's not, you've been in the rain before or whatever, but you've got this heaviness on you. The rest of you, Neno has her clothes, she's got a ring out or whatever she does. Talid, this is a strange... you're really, really out of your element here.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, and probably not the least of them, is you find yourself among, for the first time in your life, people that are not even your distant relatives. And who knows what that means for you or for them, or what you're talking about. Or so I want you to, as you're doing this, try to think through, see how Talid would react to that, because this has got to be just a totally alien situation. Okay. Over the course of only a minute or two, possibly a minute or two, you find yourself strewn about 50 feet. Every 10 or 15 feet, you're on the shore, spread out about 50 feet. All of you have tumbled around and are on the shore. The water near you is not churning aggressively, but it has calmed and spread a little. And because of the shooting out water, it has made this it cuts across the river and cuts a kind of long auxiliary waterway to the main river, leaving a stretched island between you and the cliff you just jumped off of. You've gone down that waterway, 10% of it. And you find... So you actually, from where you are, can just barely see through the trees and stuff the opposing cliff face. You can see it, but just barely. It's 100, 125, 150 feet away. It's kind of fluctuating in its size. So... yeah, so the very first thing you notice is, and you saw this from away, but the trees here, they're just different trees. It's a different forest. The trees above you on that cliff far away are these deciduous sort of pine and fir and spruce type of trees. And the forest that you're in now, it has a more swampy... It's not a swamp per se. It's more of maybe a bog or something. It's got a wetter feel. Diamondback, you probably feel more at home in this. And the trees have moss. They have this more kind of thick, oaky feel. There's not quite as much space between them on the riverfront. Further inland, you can see a little bit more. Inkatink, you rolled a 17, I think it was, 16, 17? Okay.
Yeah, I rolled 17. I didn't add anything to it. If it should be... Well, I guess I don't. Never mind.
You land, and you still have Spolash's bag, right?
I do.
Okay. Diamondback looked at the stone, but he gave you the bag back. He found out the thing that was
I
buzzing.
handed him the stone. I didn't hand him.
No, you handed me the bag, but I can give it back to you. That's fine.
No, that's fine. You've got it. If I handed it to you, you've got it.
Well, either way, there was
If I've
time.
got- yeah. So if I've got it, and it is in my bag with my other stuff, which is securely strapped around my waist.
Okay, you hear it buzzing again. I mean, you've been hearing it as you were going, like, since you heard it, it's kind of... What you're hearing when it's in your bag is conversation, and it's rattling against little, bits of beetle shell or whatever's in your bag. That's the buzzing, right? It's kind of little vibrations. You could pull it out of your bag right now and listen.
I leave it and follow the others
Okay.
and continue along with the
Wait,
others.
you leave the
I'm
bag?
invisible.
It
and
leaves it in his bag.
Oh, gotcha.
I leave it in my bag. Like right now, being invisible, I'm trying to make the fewest splashes, least footprints.
Okay, y'all are on the shore, on the sandy bit of the shore. What do you do? It's, by the way, I'm sorry, I should have told you.
Oh, okay.
It's approximately, let's call it like around the neighborhood of 10 a.m. So
Okay.
it's mid-morning.
How far away are we from these cliffs as the bird flies?
All the way across the river, which is 100, 200 feet, maybe a little bit more, and also the same amount up.
Is it 100 feet or is it 200 feet?
Let me roll, and I'll find out exactly from where y'all are. Actually, you know what? Sorry. From where you are, to see the opposite thing, you'll have to look across the short version of the river, the short little leg of the river that jutted out, which is about 50 feet.
Here's my actual question. Would somebody standing on the cliffs have line of sight with me?
They would probably
now.
be screaming because they had just walked through 20 feet of spike growth.
But they may have done so.
They, I can't control it. They may have line of sight. They would have to be looking through the trees that you're looking through to see them, because remember, there's that narrow but long island between you. So it's certainly not open view, but it is possible to see through where you are.
That's fine. I'm just, I know these guys are trigger happy with the magic missile, so I don't want to stop the group until we're seems to be a little danger of that. But if we're sort of wringing out our clothes and
Yeah, it's about 200 feet, and you're not in clear sight.
awesome.
I cast Cure Wounds on myself at
Okay.
the second level, which heals 16 points.
Now,
Go ahead.
you all can see each other on this shore. Do you want to group up and come together and talk and stuff? Or
Yeah, and take shelter.
Okay.
Like,
And
hide behind a
let's-
tree or something.
Let's move. Let's not stop. Go.
describe to me what we saw of the creatures in the water as we were
So the
kind
ones,
of on top of it and crossing.
yeah, from where you were looking downstream, you did not see any creatures in the water. But looking upstream, upriver, you would have seen that there were some creatures in the water. Those would be things like the things you noticed would be maybe like a couple of alligators or crocodiles or something of that nature. Some other things you might not recognize, but you could see a shape in the water. This kind of thing. They were clearly some animals in the water.
Inkatink keeps moving and does whatever kind of little whistle noise he's been doing to try to locate with Diamondback, since Diamondback is invisible. So he's going to see if Diamondback will whistle back so that he can try to locate him.
Okay.
Yeah, Diamondback says, "I'm here. I agree with Belvari. Let's go deeper in."
Now, before you do that, I'm going to tell you your passive perception. I'm going to look at your passive perception and tell you what you notice. Give me a second.
It's 12.
Yours is 12. Does anybody else have a...
Well, my passive investigation is quite high.
My passive
This would be
perception is 13.
passive perception. It's what?
13.
Yeah.
13, 12, 13, 12. So you are ballpark around 12, 13. You do see some animals in the river. And 12, 13. You notice that those of you who happen to look for the animals, and you can say, hey, look, or whatever. You notice that They don't come more than about halfway across the river. They, as a matter of fact, seem to have gone to the halfway-ish line and are almost pacing, except they're in the water, right? They're not pacing, but they're almost kind of like waiting there. But they're not crossing some boundary.
Man, I'm really curious about this territory.
Let's proceed slowly and get our bearings here. Yoshiko would
turns and sprints off into the woods.
Yoshiko would want to go pretty much straight away from the river, except a little south, if I can orient myself that much.
So south would be back to the
Would be
river.
across the river.
The river has gone pretty much this way
We
for
just
you.
went north.
We just went north.
Yeah, you jumped north across the river.
We ran from the
Okay,
opening north.
I guess get a ways away from the river and then cut.
In an upstream direction or a
But
downstream
it,
direction?
Okay, I'm all disoriented.
So would you go upstream or downstream?
Remember, upstream is towards the Iron Bell.
And downstream is towards the beasts.
Yeah, I would go. We were kind of far out, I feel like, so I'll go a little bit upstream. Yoshika generally tries to feel out the fringe between of like the least dangerous of the two.
Are there any animals, like small animals?
Are you right at? Are you sorry? Are you still on the shore? Have you started walking
no,
yet?
we're walking north.
Okay. You don't particularly notice any like
Okay.
squirrels running or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not. There's not a conspicuous lack, but you also don't really
Gotcha.
see anything.
I turn my staff into its flying
Mhm.
serpent form and have it do its customary patrol maneuver where it stays something like 30 feet
Yep.
away from us and just orbits. And as soon as it sees anything that scares it or looks dangerous, will come right back to me, straight back to me, into my hand, turn back into a staff.
Okay. It orbits you for a minute or two while y'all are figuring this out, and does not return imminently.
Inkatink would like to stealth ahead of the party. If the party's just walking, then he's going to double move, but stealthily to try to stay ahead of the party. But in stealth, if that's okay.
Sure. Roll stealth.
21.
Okay.
Must be okay.
Yeah. And I will record.
So Yoshika's going to be checking like the trees and any noises, animals. Just try to get, because I imagine everything's foreign. So
Yeah.
Yeah, Bovary wants to find an animal to talk to, so he's got an eye out for those.
Okay.
I want to.
So once we're going, once we're like sort of walking through the woods on our way, then I will answer the sending stone if it's still buzzing.
Okay.
Answer.
Listen to it. I'm not going to say anything. I just want to listen.
Yeah. And I want to hear.
I'm okay to ellipse over this, but as soon as we get in far enough away from the river to feel safe, I really want us to sit down and huddle up and share our experiences of that time. And what did you say? And were you the fake guy? And what do you know about where we're going to?
So
Talad?
let me make a suggestion about that to the players. What I think your characters might have in mind, though it has been a little while, you may want to consider, or your players may have in mind the need for shelter in an especially foreign place.
Mm-hmm.
After your couple of weeks of very low animal from the false knight, they have been returning, and you know that you've been pursued by animals. Although this curiosity of not crossing that kind of halfway point, but also it's mid-morning, and you have had hard times before. I'm not saying do it now. Okay, so there you go.
Diamondback says to Neno, Neno, it's very important to analyze the results of the last battle, to learn and be able to do better strategically in the next battle. But now I believe our survival in the short term is our most important need. And so I believe that we should follow Yoshika. And but however, I agree with you very much. We must have a post-mortem on the disaster that just happened.
Let's go to ground as soon as we can. We can stay in a place. We can take an early night and debrief as long as it takes.
And I just want to.
Agree.
Sorry, go ahead. Say agreed for me.
I agree. And let us put at least 2 hours walk between us and this river.
Sounds good.
I just want to point out for the listening audience, and I'll cut this in post so that the more subtle listeners can hear, Diamondback's flavor text of calling the battle a post-mortem
Nice.
as a necromancer. So, okay, that sounds good. Here's what we're going to do, and you can still hear chatter and stuff. You don't see anything. It would be easy to move within sight of where you are a couple 100 or 200, 300 feet from the shore. Doing that from the edge of the river, you can see through the woods some here. It is more dense than the woods you were just in part because there's things like hanging moss and there's more water on the ground, so the trees are shooting up more. It is not you're not slogging through wetness, but it's a wetter ground. So you could go a couple hundred feet and be completely out of sight of the cliffs and river but you can see that spot. So if you want to do that and regroup,
I
okay.
would like to go like 4 or 5 miles from the river.
Okay. Well, let's start with you going a few feet. A few hundred feet. But first, as you do that, one of the things you notice as you walk away from the river here, this forest smells and feels different. First of all, high humidity. Like I said, the ground is wetter. You're lower by a couple hundred feet of altitude, so that's something. There's also a pungent but not strong scent that Diamondback would probably be most familiar with. Others of you may have as well. Josh, are you still there?
Yep.
Okay, I just noticed your video. I just want to make sure. That others of you would may be familiar with as well. Diamondback, it has the odor of almost like maybe compost, or like I said, it's a wetter environment. Things have decayed or deteriorated, swampish. It doesn't have that freshness of like coniferous forest with a harder, firmer ground and crisp kind of feel of things. You're definitely walking on the ground, and it's not clack clack. It's more like thump thump. So not quite squish squish. As you go further in, you're moving away from the river, and you get a more pronounced sense of that until it feels like it doesn't get overwhelming. It just feels like that's definitely the sort of the way of this wood is wetter. So you go in. I'm going to pull up, guys, for the first time. I'm going to pull up our camping. Roscoe, sit. Don't mess with that cat. No, sir. No. Don't mess with that cat. All right. Good boy. He messes with the cat. I'm going to pull up our... Nope, not that one. There it is. Sorry. Took me a sec. I have a mechanic here that I've given you the ability to pull up in your browsers if you want to. You don't have to. But basically it is how camping will work. And Jared, in part for you, it'll help us answer the inspiration question pretty regularly. Jacob, will you help her? I'm sorry. The cat. Roscoe. He tries to pick her up by her head with his mouth. Sorry, while he's doing that, I'm actually not finding the camping thing I thought I had. Well, I know I have. I just don't know where it is. Let's see.
It wasn't shared folder or something.
Yeah, I put it in your shared folder. That's right. Thank you. Season 3, public to players, camping worksheet. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. What this lets us do is it lets us figure out how good of a rest you guys get based on the events of the day, your survival checks, looking for stuff. Okay. So please roll for me. Any one of you who would like to roll me a survival check as you move a mile or so, a couple miles in from the river.
15.
15 as well.
All right.
1 + 2 is 3.
Okay.
I think a 1 is a critical fail.
That's right.
Matt finds his shoes.
That's right.
Matt loses his shoes.
19.
Okay. So y'all did pretty well with that. You move through. Jacob, can you hear?
Yeah.
Thanks, good boy. You move through this terrain, and it's not actually difficult. You're not on any kind of path, and it isn't exactly open. It's forested, and it's a little thicker than the forest you were in because of how lush it is. But it's rocks, and you're actually surprised to find that though it feels kind of wet and boggish, there are... Sorry, Jake. We put her in my room. Put him in my room.
Yeah.
Mom will take him, I guess. Thanks. I'm just going to wait. Sorry, 1 sec.
I'm guessing this is a place that gets a lot of regular rain,
Okay.
which influences how I want to hide for the night.
So, one of the things you notice in this area is that there are large-ish stones. Not like a whole lot of them, but they're dark-colored and jutting up out of the ground. And once in a while, as you're walking for a few hours to cover this first couple of miles, once in a while, one juts far enough out, and you notice that they don't seem to be naturally shaped. They are, especially, you see some that have right angles on them. They're jutting out of the ground, a few feet, maybe sometimes a couple of feet or 10 feet or different amounts. And they might have a right angle, but it's not in any way that you would think of standing upright. But you do notice other ones that seem to be more upright. There's not very many of them. They're overgrown with moss. They've got, at the bases of them, they've got some kind of lichen or something like that on them. And they're just interspersed. You see a few of them as you go. I'm happy for you all to just be aware of that, or if you want to say anything about that, I'm happy for that too.
Diamondback's not super interested in some rocks on the ground.
Talad is. He's going to say, what incredible workmanship.
Talad, remember, is a stoneworker. Are you just seeing them as you go by?
He's like really entranced by... It's basically the only familiar thing that he can see other than like trees. He knows what trees are.
Would you, as y'all are walking, if you see one, I'm just going to ask, if you see one like 100 feet away, would you walk away from the party to go see it?
Probably a little bit. Not enough that I lose the party, but just like, ooh, that's a really nice one.
If you
like
saw one
wandering away.
If you saw one 20 feet away, so like to the Christmas tree, would you walk over and look at it?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me an investigation check as Talad goes and looks at it.
That is a 9 plus whatever else it is. I
Okay.
don't have my sheet.
You that's fine.
He can take his Ikatik is hidden, but he's also inspecting it from the bushes, and he inspects it with a 18.
Okay.
Do I get advantage because I'm a stoneworker?
You know what? I won't give you advantage, but I'll give you in something like this. I'll give you like a +3 in addition. It's kind of like proficiency.
Nice.
In addition to whatever investigation you had. So we'll call this about a 14?
Yeah.
Because you had a +2, I think, in your...
Yeah.
So, Inkatink, you notice that it's covered with, like, really, really covered. You can see some of the stone underneath. It's a dark, not shiny, but smooth stone. But you don't really see much detail of it from that. Talad, as you go up to it, and you're feeling, and you can see some texture on it, you scrape away, you kind of push a little bit of the moss, and the stones are carved in some fashion. Roll me a history check with a DC, I'm going to say, let's call it a DC 12. And I'll look up
+3
your,
as well?
Say again?
+3 as well because I stonework stuffs?
No,
Or-
this is just a sort of general knowledge-y thing.
17.
Okay,
So I wouldn't need it anyway.
that's very high.
History is an intelligence thing too.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you, Talad, nobody else is aware of this exactly, but you are. You see two kinds of carving on the stone. One is, it seems to be features into the stone, like maybe pictures or something like a large. It could be maybe a mural or some kind of picture of a place or a tree or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the other is you see, and you would recognize this actually better than these other guys, some of the other guys, Diamondback would if you were looking. You see strange shapes that are clearly, to you at least, you're pretty sure are some kind of writing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Ruins?
That's what you notice.
Talad's gonna. He's still like. He's in like that one stage of grief denial, so he's trying to preoccupy himself with like. I need to find something that doesn't remind me of my dead sister.
Yeah.
So he's just gonna.
Or
be
treacherous father and uncle.
Like, yeah. He's just
Or
gonna.
evil
be
god.
Like, all of that.
Piling on over here.
Honestly, inspecting these might be eventually be the least comforting thing, but whatever. He's just going to be like, that's really interesting, and sort of looking at it all, and sort of, he's just inspecting it.
As you see,
Is it carved on all 6 sides?
Is it?
Roll it.
roll me. I'll roll it. I'll roll it.
Now that he's taken like 5 minutes looking at a rock.
This is
on the
5
ground,
minutes? What?
Diamondback will have stopped before we went too far from Aura Van Roth Talad, and have gone back, and I'll look over his shoulder and investigate the thing.
And
Belvari is 5 minutes to the north if this has been 5 minutes.
okay. And Diamondback, it's been an hour at least since you have jumped off the cliff, so your invisibility is probably worn off by now.
Oh yeah, it was been going for a long time.
Okay. You see, that's one. This protrusion of stone, you can see is not a cube, but sort of an oblong cube. It's a rectangular prism, and you can make out four faces of this prism. 1, 2, 3, and then a little bit on the back side sticking out of the ground before it like sinks all the way in.
Yeah.
Of these 4, sorry.
It appears to be worked stone.
Yeah, I don't know. Roll me your own history check, Diamondback.
Yes, that's what I wanted to do. I have +5 in history.
And I'm going to give you a DC.
Wow.
Don't tell me what it is, so I can give you an honest DC.
Yep.
I'm going to give you a
sorry, I made
DC.
that noise.
I don't even know what's happening. I'm going to give you a DC of 16 on this.
Okay, because I rolled a 20, so it's a 25.
All right.
Bam.
Nice.
Critical
Diamondback.
hit. Okay, so here's the campaign.
Yeah, that's right. And we'll talk all about season 4.
Never sent some kid to do a wizard's work.
That's right. Talad and Diamondback, have a little conversation where you're just showing him what you see, Talad.
This is
Or where you walk up to Diamondback, whatever.
Talad's just admiring all of it. He's not even aware that you're here yet. If you're here
What are you
yet.
looking at, child?
This piece of stonework is remarkable.
Diamondback's
Wait,
like 3 years old.
That's what I'm saying.
Diamondback's probably about 2 or 3 years older than Talad, but says, "What are you looking at, child?" Sorry, go ahead.
Talad's gonna vaguely acknowledge Diamondback and say, "Hey, this stonework is remarkable. It's all detailed and carved. There are pictures, some sort of cryptic information. It's all beautiful. I wonder how long it took." He's sort of going on a mini tangent about all the stoneworking techniques, that kind of stuff.
So one of the things...
Interesting. I
Sorry.
didn't realize that it was worked from a distance. Actually, I recognize some of these characters. That's a script that I've seen before.
Actually, it isn't.
Fair enough.
But,
You
actually...
hear a scraping sound on the other side of the stone, and Ikatink is clearing away all the moss from all the grooves of everything. He's trying to get all the letters perfectly visible.
So at this point, guys, and before I describe the stone any further, Toll, Yoshka, Nano, and Belvari, 3 of your party have stopped and are looking at at least conspicuously wrought stone that you've seen a few of, maybe 6 or 8 in your couple of hours walking.
No, let's go look over here. Yoshka points not to them, but nearby. When I was young, we would sometimes come across ruins like this, and if my memory serves me correctly, places like this, where it's overgrown and usually have the most interesting things.
Maybe one of these stones will have an alcove and we can burrow in.
And Belvari?
Belvari will turn around and look, and then just kind of sit down.
And Toll, actually, I'm going to decide who he sits with, or what he does. No, I'm going to make it, sorry. Odds and evens. Odds will be he sticks with Belvari so that they're paired. Evens will be he heads over with Yoshka and Neno. So odds for Belvari, evens for Neno. It's evens for Neno. So they walk, it's not very far, 20 feet or something. You're all within sight of each other easily.
I'm keeping an eye on behind us, where we
Okay.
came from.
Sounds good. As you investigate, guys, the stone, one of the things you notice is you can't clearly make out anything in particular on the stone. It's heavily pitted from the moss, and the shapes that have been carved into it, while definitely there, are also well worn and seem quite old. Probably older. Diamondback, you would know this for sure, actually, with 25. This is the oldest workmanship you've seen. This is probably the oldest workmanship you've heard of. You're not sure what it is, what it's about, but there are 2 things you notice. One is there seems to be some kind of writing interspersed across its surfaces. The shapes and symbols are like nothing you have seen before. But also you can't make them out super clearly because, it's old. But you do notice, among other things, you find a rut in the stone, Diamondback. And if you put your finger in one spot, and I'm going to assert that you probably do, you put your finger in one spot and you kind of run it long, and you find that it winds its way, not in an obvious pattern, around to what seems like probably every side of the stone at some point. And you can occasionally skip to another similar rut that goes somewhere. At one end of that rut, it ends with, when I say rut, I just mean like a carved groove, right? Like one end of it ends usually with a taper to a point, or what would have been a point previously. There are occasional, on each one, there are occasionally like 2 or 4 short branches that come off of it, and the opposite end of the taper ends in a kind of oblong, sort of ellipsoid circle.
Do I know anything about this pattern or shape?
You don't, but with a 25, it feels. Let me say this to you. You, being the humble person you are, figure it's probably a snake.
This is... So you're saying that I recognize this as Snake Clan iconography.
I'm saying that Diamondback thinks
snake.
this is probably a snake. This line that traces around, and then there's another line that traces around, and they don't seem to... There's no clear pattern. It's not like carving a spiral up the stone. Your impression, Diamondback, although it doesn't look exactly like a snake, it has these little branches coming off at points, and it has a point at one end and a circle at the other. But you think it's pretty snaky. I'm really important. That kind of thing.
Yoshika probably thinks it's a map of a river? What do you think?
Nicotine sees Diamondback
Looking something
focusing on this intently, and so he grabs a large piece of bark or a stick or something, and he takes out one of his little knife and file pieces, and he starts carving the shape into the piece of wood.
Okay. So y'all have been here for 10 minutes, and you've seen everything you feel like you can see about the stone.
How big is this stone? Like person size?
2 to 3 feet on a side for the short side, and it sinks into the ground at about 4 feet. You don't know how far it goes into the ground.
I say to Talid, people once lived here, and they were very mighty, and they built dwellings of stone above the ground, as you see here. And as my people do, and all great peoples must, they worship the snake. Let us continue on our journey.
Real quick, Sir Robert, Jared and Aaron did say that they were searching in that area of bushes. I missed. Did they ever get to make a check for anything to see if they find anything?
Are you all searching in earnest?
Yeah.
Okay. Roll
That's what I
me
was trying
an
to
investigation check.
I'm looking for fun new components in our fun new area.
Mm-hmm.
16.
Okay.
2.
Noise.
Yup.
Okay.
Reach over for a berry and a stick hits you in the head.
With that combined roll, you get a. No, you don't find anything. But Yoshika, you find 4. I'm trying out a slightly changed mechanic to make it more better for you guys. You find 4 spell levels worth of componentry. Would you rather find a component with, or some components with a few lower spells, like level 0, 1, 2, or would you rather find a component that has a level 4 spell on it?
Infinite 0 spells.
Yeah, I probably would be looking for 2, 3, 4.
On the higher side.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I will tell you what you find. I have a. Is that baby shark? What's going on? Okay. Sorry, I have
Grandma shark. You should have recognized it.
the world,
Yeah.
equipment, components. There we go.
So, Jared, tell me about this rap that we were doing.
Don't you remember we were going home from this kind of
Right.
urban Christian college conference?
Right.
And do you remember there was break dancing and hip hop there. And then on the way home, I remember you and me and Joe. And I feel like there was another person or two. And we were taking turns doing rap verses for probably at least a good hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And, yeah.
so roll me a d4, Jared. This is going to be how many you find of this.
2.
2 plus 1 is 3. I always do 3 so you don't find just the one. You find the leaves, and a couple of them you can identify as magical, of a windwood chokeberry tree.
Okay.
And what you can tell using your, abilities to doing this, investigating around, is that they have some, they have some higher level magic than cantrips and stuff.
Okay.
Great.
So
Y'all
Nana is immediately envious and decides that next time we make a pause, she's flipping her veil over.
Okay. Fair enough.
Let's not make another pause until nighttime.
So let's get on your way.
Yeah.
Y'all have walked a few miles. It is noon. Do you want to walk some more or start looking for shelter?
Start looking for shelter.
Okay.
As long as we're at least 2 hours walk away.
Y'all are several hours walk.
Let's do it.
And-
Shelter.
And I'm assuming y'all have not walked like in the straightest line you can, leaving marks.
Have we heard anything from the buzzing
The
stuff?
whole time you hear the stone buzzing.
Oh, I mean, I answered it like
Oh, okay.
a long time ago.
Here's what you hear. Let's say you've been walking for 15 minutes and you pull the stone out. Good?
Yeah.
Do you let the others know? Can they hear?
They can see me. I don't tell them, but I
Okay.
get it out in their sight.
Y'all
My
can
visibility is worn off by then.
y'all can hear the stone, hear what's being said. Would you like to listen as you walk? Is that something y'all would have done? Okay.
Talad would.
Talad would? Okay. Here's what you hear. Y'all are walking for a little bit, and you hear, different sounds that are people doing stuff, and it doesn't sound like anybody's like speaking to you through the stone. You're almost eavesdropping. You consistently hear Spolash's aide's voice. And sometimes Spolash is in there, sometimes somebody else. Sometimes the aide is saying to someone you don't know, go over there and set those up. And you hear a bit of, oh, what are these thorns? And things like that.
Yes!
Everywhere, all over the field.
That's right.
That lasted for 10 minutes.
That is true, friend.
So you hear those kinds of things, and sometimes you hear Spolash saying something or whatever. After a few minutes, y'all are listening to this, and you hear a particular exchange that catches your attention because Spolash's voice apparently comes closer to the stone. You hear it more clearly, addressing his aide-de-camp, his second. And this is what they say. The aide says, sorry, let me get a voice here. Sir, we've got the men, we've got the beasts, we're ready. The beasts in the water? What would you do? And Spolash responds, it doesn't matter. But what do you mean it doesn't matter? The beasts won't cross. Not without compulsion. Okay, sir, but we can go pursue them. Why don't we go? No. They have chosen a way. They have left the merciful rule of Simdaran. They have laid themselves in the hollows of the flayed hands of Garatone. Besides, we're what? 40 men, we wouldn't survive. All right, let's take a break here. 10-minute break. We will come back and do the next bit.
I immediately regret the decision.
Man.
Flayed hands.
Well, it's hard to pick things up when your hands are flayed. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe as people for that.
Another
Cheeto.
Red hot Cheeto.
So either we're in the territory of somebody exponentially worse than Spolash,
Or
or somebody is
exponentially better.
awesome. Yeah.
Although
It's-
flayed hands doesn't sound very awesome.
It's at least someone that Spolash doesn't
And
seem-
all of his dumb brute creatures.
Sure. But these
Well-
have a personality conflict.
This Garaton's probably on my side.
Because the
Gyroton?
snake.
It only makes sense.
Oh man.
Hold on here a second.
I'm more of a Gase than a Gyroton.
Okay, can I get y'all anything? Would you like a drink or
Take a drink.
Coke?
Sure. You can take a drink.
Here's a Coke.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
No, thanks.
You doing okay?
Yeah. Thanks.
So Nano is immediately going to want to revere her underground water god, because obviously he's the one to credit for the escape.
Yeah.
We jumped into
He
his.
blocked.
He was our funnel to success. Funnel across the river. The water came out from the underground to deliver us to safety. That's like parting the water's level of
Yeah.
water intervention.
And
You should mention that during our rest.
And I don't know if it's the same, but the actual ground you're on now is wetter. I don't know if that counts
You'll
as.
be all
Right.
into
I
that.
don't care if it's rain. I mean, if it's rain, then that's some other god's business until the water gets into the ground, in which case it belongs to mine.
You haven't seen it rain. It seems to be just pretty damp soil.
Okay. Oh gosh.
Did Elliot's poster fall down?
What'd you say?
Did Elliot's poster fall down?
I guess so. Well, he probably took it down.
Did he finish it?
But yeah, they all finished. These
Oh,
are usually summer challenges. We extended them into the
gotcha.
first semester, and they get a certain number of dollars for the number of pages, books, whatever, depending on their age.
Nice. There was an advent calendar over here that fell down.
Yeah, I think I need to put a thumbtack instead of tape.
Gotcha.
Abby bought everybody a chocolate advent calendar.
Nice.
I just had
You just had yours.
mine.
Good job.
I only celebrate vanilla advent.
Celebrate what?
Vanilla advent.
For white chocolate?
No.
9!
What is white chocolate?
It's
Chocolate.
waxy part of the process.
Ah. They just take out the stuff that people might be allergic to. I had a cousin that could only eat white chocolate.
Yeah, it's not that exactly. It's the part you would normally get rid of, and you could get rid of. That's not the chocolate part. It's like the oil skimmed off and stuff.
Gotcha. But like when Hershey's or whatever makes a white chocolate bar, they add some sugar and stuff to that. Yeah. 56.
Oh yeah.
Are you in 5 or 6?
5 now actually, but this is from last year.
Ah.
Just present because I went when I was in 4th grade.
Cheater.
But I was the age of a 5th grader and I took up like
Gotcha.
age. So.
You should see him eat pumpkins.
How many pumpkins can you eat?
Well, not like whole, but pumpkin is my favorite Fruit?
Pie.
Well, yeah, but like I eat pumpkin.
Veg? No, I guess it is a fruit, isn't
You
it?
got a pumpkin spice.
Yes, donuts. Everything pumpkin.
I'm a big fan of pumpkin. When I was a kid, I actually didn't really like pumpkin pie. I liked Cool Whip, and I could put as much Cool Whip as I wanted on pumpkin pies. And then now I've grown to love pumpkin pies.
I did like pumpkin pie, but I lost the point of the story. But I like pumpkin pie. Oh, pecan was my favorite for a long
Yeah,
time.
pecan. One time I tried to make a pecan pie, and then we realized we didn't have any pecans, so I replaced that with
Pumpkin.
chocolate chips, and it made a dessert that gave me a headache because it was just from the sweetness.
Not directly related to that, but sort of related to that. I once had a terrible headache when I was about 20, and I worked at Best Buy. And I called in and I was like, man, my head hurts so badly, but they wouldn't give me the time off. So I went to work, and I was not thinking clearly. I probably should not have driven. I was like out of it. So I took some random, I don't know, ibuprofen or something.
Excedrin.
Yeah.
Head
Just that I
on.
found.
Ooh, you should have got it head on.
So this is like 19, I'm going to say 96, 7.
Head on hadn't been invented yet.
Yeah. Or at least not pitched to me. But I took some, and I couldn't remember whether I had taken anything or not. So I took something else, probably aspirin. I don't know exactly. And I couldn't remember after a while if I was like, this hurts. Did I take something or did I just think I did? And I was really loopy. And I got there and I asked somebody like, hey, do we have any like first aid? Like, do we have any headache medicine? And I didn't know what anything was called because I was like 20
Yeah.
or whatever. And I took something else. And about 40 minutes later, and for the rest of my shift, I was so relaxed and nothing hurt. And I could not lift my forearms above about a right angle. So, and I was doing sales. I was at the Best Buy. People would ask me this. And
Like, I look at this computer on the top shelf right there.
it's more like that. Yes, but it's more like, yeah, I can tell you all about it.
I think I mean, I wasn't there when you were doing that, but I think I've been in a Best Buy when that was happening.
I was so. I wish I could remember what I took because it was a neat feeling. Roscoe, come here. Come here, good boy. Don't you know I love you every day? You're not my kid, but you're pretty close. That's my boy. That's my boy. You see the piece of greasy meat. I love Roscoe. He's so sweet.
Roscoe's just like, ooh, snack. Ooh, snack.
Roscoe, why are you such a Roscoe?
Ooh, snack. Ooh, snack.
Why are you such a
Roscoe
Roscoe?
likes a snack.
I love you, Elliot.
Love you too.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, the flayed-handed one.
That's right.
Let's go say hi to him.
I don't know. Sounds like the kind of moniker that a powerful necromancer might adopt.
Could be.
Maybe he was
He
just
likes
talking about
skeletons and
you.
zombies.
Jacob did it.
Maybe he was just talking about you.
You will. Do you recall the name Garatone? You've heard it before.
I only remember Garriott.
It's okay with me if you don't.
I don't.
All right.
I told Jared I'm more of a Gase than a Garrotone.
Sorry, what?
I'm
Oh, Gase than a Garatone. That's good. Let's see.
Yeah, no, I haven't made any notes with that name.
Okay. In the same area, I'm going to let you guys search as much as you would like, but I want to remind you of the mechanic that it gets increasingly likely to have an encounter for each watch that you're in a spot. Which doesn't mean it's likely. It starts off with a DC 20. I have to roll a 20 the first watch. So it's not like you're really likely. It's just that it gets easier and easier. If the creature starts smelling you and going like, or if a guy hears you go, come over here, or whatever.
This is why we should not talk or sleep, because there are snakes.
Hey, will you send me the... I can't find it for likely the Ren stuff.
Okay.
I looked all through my email and I was like, what the crud? I know I have this written down.
I brought my notebook.
Wow, I never realized before. The don't sleep, they're snakes. That means something different to Diamondback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's something like don't sleep, it's Christmas or something like that.
No, yeah, it's a sentiment which Diamondback interprets somewhat differently, but also wholeheartedly agrees with.
Diamondback also probably has an interesting relationship religiously with sleep. It's a, it's almost a shadow of death. Each morning you are raised from the dead anew, or something. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. But.
Like, do you groan on purpose in the morning? Kind of like a zombie when you wake up?
Brains.
Yeah, it's part of my mantra. No.
Jacob,
No.
you pass me a few Ritz. What? Pass me a few of the Ritz.
Oh,
No, but it's a little bit more like you can wake people up from being asleep, and you can wake people up from being dead, and it's like basically the same
Oh,
thing.
good.
Yeah, we saw the results of that. It was basically just like, what's his name, was just being woken up from being asleep.
Gulp.
Go.
he was a bit groggy though.
I don't know.
You know, it's not quite the same thing.
He saw his grandpa in 3 iterations, so it's got to be something better than gold.
I don't know. Did he tell you that he was planning on taking Gulp to see if he could get him properly resurrected?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
All right. Well, we can jump in. While we're waiting for Josh, can I have each of you roll me a DC 2? No, that's not right. I'm going to call it a DC... No, you know what? Yeah, I'll call it a DC 5 dexterity check.
10.
I pass.
17.
I feel like I have some kind of. I feel like I'm good at that, but
I can roll it for you. Nano, dex check. You rolled a 20. An 18 plus 2. Did any of you roll a natural 1?
Not me.
Okay.
I'll roll a natural one just to see what happens.
Keep rolling.
I mean, we just met you. We kind of don't care if you live, but I kind of want you to live. I like people who are younger than me living.
I'm gonna roll for Inkatink
He
just
helped you
off
get
of
across the
his
river.
page here.
You mean Toll?
No, I did Inkatink, but I'll do Toll too. Just because Josh isn't here, I forgot Toll. And I'll roll Toll as well. Inkatink got a 11. And Toll gets... Ooh, he's not dexterous.
What does he get?
He has a -1 on dex.
Mm.
And a -2 on charisma.
I think I have a -2 on charisma too.
But he got an 8.
Me too.
Okay.
Elvira, you may be surprised, has a +2 on charisma.
For as cool as you did, you're clearly beloved. That's a lot of charisma.
All right.
You know, it's natural for people to play their strengths.
Okay, so
That's why I always play a low intelligence character.
would y'all like to start looking for where to stay
A
for the
shelter,
evening? Okay. Like I said, you do not have to care about the sheet. I'm just inviting you, but I'll roll it. Let's go through, and I need to ask a couple of questions of each of you about the day so far. This is gonna. No, sorry. Before we do that, we're gonna roll your checks. So the terrain that you're in, from your perspective, I'm describing as untamed wilderness of hazardous or unknown terrain. So it's kind of like to give you a sense of the place that you're finding yourself where you're looking for rest. Fair enough?
I was rooting for alien planes of unspeakable horror.
That is one of the options. I don't know if y'all remember that. Alien planes of unspeakable horror. The easiest to DC 0 is inn or home at a well-established settlement. DC 5, say it again.
I see.
DC 5 is peaceful countryside with bountiful resources. 10 is tamed wilderness or urban streets. 15, untamed wilderness of hazardous or unknown terrain. 20 is deadly wilderness or caves infested with dangerous monsters. That kind of thing. 25, utterly inhospitable wilderness, untraveled by most. This actually
Inside of a volcano, for example.
This actually is in there somewhere. And then a 30 is somewhere between the 15 to 25. And then a 30 is alien planes of unspeakable horror. So
So when we met those giant elk or whatever, what was that, like 25 or was that 20?
that'd probably be a 20 because you were still between some towns that people, Wayfarers probably went once in a while. Y'all had been in that tree for a lot of watches, like days. And so the chances of the encounter and the severity of the encounter.
Just sit here until we get to see the alien planes.
Okay. Great. And I'm going to, because of various things, I'm going to give this a neutral location safety score, which is to say, you're not, you can tell based on the stone, you're not being actively hunted, but you're also not like in a nice, easy, peaceful place. So I'm calling this neutral. The range on that goes from extremely unsafe, very unsafe, etc., neutral down to very safe, extremely safe. The weather right now is fine. It's just normal weather. There's no rain. There's no such and such extreme. But you don't. We'll find out whether you find any kind of permanent structure. And personal events. So here's what I need to know from each of you. You know what I can do? I can. Oh, there it is. Personal events. All right. I can. Can I do that? Let's see. Is it not-
Diamondback, how's your snake doing? Is he happy to still be flying around us?
He is. He has given no. The flying snake has given no signs of. No,
No sign of danger.
He's not disturbed by anything or flying back. Still just snaking around. Let's start with. There we go. Is that going to work? I don't know. Oh, I see. I'm sort of partially just biding time while I'm doing something while we're waiting for Josh, but I'm also doing something.
He says start without him.
Okay, great. Diamondback,
Yeah.
have you today in the past? What we're looking for is the events of the past day. Did you have inspiration? No. Did you get injured at all?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you defeated in battle?
No.
Did you eat enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have had a meal. Yep. Are you currently hungry in a more than... Have you missed a meal type of thing?
I mean, it's probably lunchtime, so I might be a bit peckish.
Yeah, that's not going to count. Yeah. And were you on watch instead of sleeping at some point? No. And did you have any kind of particularly disturbed slumber, like something woke you up in the middle of your most recent rest?
Don't believe so.
Okay, great. So you're at a... you did get injured, so you're at a 0 here. No, I'm sorry, you're at a 1 because you had a little bit to eat. Yoshka, same questions, and all of y'all same questions.
Just to have my head on straight, this morning we woke up in the guest
That's right.
thing. Okay.
You had a great night last night.
We did.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a party. It's possible that the stress of this event could count as a kind of like extenuating circumstance, like being defeated in battle. I'm
At the very least, making us extra hungry.
I'm willing to let you tell me if you think that has had a severe. That's right. Talent. I'm going to call that.
Yeah.
Diamondback's
see.
not any more stressed. This is how it's been the whole time.
Yoshka.
I'm -2, I think.
Okay. And Belvari, where are you on that? On the how much did this impact you?
Oh, I'm fine.
Okay.
I mean, morally, I will never trust ever again. But I
You're
just
not-
assume that sort of thing's gonna always happen.
Okay. And but were you injured? You
Yeah,
were.
I was
Okay.
quite injured.
So you don't get the bonus for being uninjured. So I'm going to put you at a 1 because you had plenty of food. And Yoshka, you had food. So I'm going to put you at a 1.
I was just thinking because I was like the champion of my ideals.
Yeah, that's fair.
Completely betrayed.
Oh, you're
me.
looking at the sheet.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you to tell me if you're looking at the sheet. That's good. Neno, how did you react? Like being defeated personally would be a -2, like your spirit's crushed, and possibly also the suspicions you were having. You might not have slept well about the gods, or you could be feeling awesome. In a sense of that.
I feel vindicated, and I feel hungry, and I feel cold because my skirts are still damp, but I wasn't injured.
Okay, I'm going to call that a vindicated. And how'd you respond to the whole, slaughtering of relatives and terribleness, Spolash?
I mean, evil God's gonna evil.
Okay, so I'm going to call you a
Sorry.
-1, which is you're not having a great day, but it's not terrible. A 0 would be sort of neutral, and it goes all the way up to like your highest would be a 4, and your lowest would be a -5. I'm going to call you about a -1. And Toll, I'm going to just give about the same as Belvari, probably.
He
did
didn't
not.
get hit as much as me.
That's true. He didn't get injured at all. I'm going to give him a 2 then.
Not
Inkatink. There's Inkatink.
Inkatink walks over to Neno and in the voice of a little halfling grandmother says, "Let me see one of your coats, dear. Please."
Neno shrugs and unwraps herself like 4 times around and hands him like an 8-layer 8 layers, so wrap skirt.
A whole one, or is it still connected? Like, are you able to remove it completely and hand it to him?
Yeah.
Or are you giving him like a long stretch?
It's a giant thing of fabric wrapped around me a million times. So I unwrap it and I hand it to him. I'm still wearing other skirts.
Okay, so it's not the same one long sarong or something.
I have lots of layers of skirts on. I handed him 8 of the 16.
Okay, great.
So Inkatink takes out a huge pile of prestidigitation components, and you see steam starts coming off of the garments as he just starts prestidigitating all the water out of the clothing. And he dries out all of Nino's clothing as much as she'll hand to him. You see him run off into the brush, and he just starts like grabbing object, and he comes back and he just keeps doing it. So as long as it takes him to run around in the brush to get prestidigitation components, he does it.
Oh, thank you, Fluffy. No idea how much better I feel.
His feathers all do a little fluff out, and then he kind of nods to himself and walks to some other part of the camp.
Inkatink, that was great. Inkatink.
Oh, I'm sorry. And then he goes over to Nino and he shows her the thing that he carved in wood, and he points at her needles, and he pulls out some of his needles as if to say, "Can we do some needling?" And,
Tonight, Fluffy. Yes, if he can stay awake, let's needle.
yeah. So she sets him to work, and he starts doing something a million times.
Okay. Inkatink, did you, were you injured at all?
Not really. No.
Not really, or no?
No. I have all my hit points and 10 temporary hit points.
Okay.
I'm utterly and completely unscathed.
What was your response to the insanity in Oravan, as it were, the slaughter of relatives and the sudden turn? Would the emotional impact of that be on par with a heavy-hearted like defeat, or did you not care, or did you think it was awesome?
He is already in survival mode, and I think if anything, it just made him. You see that he's being even more attentive of everybody. He's like, he does that for Nino as they're walking along. He walks up beside people and just like fixes the hem of their robe, or if there's anything torn or dirty or whatever. And so over the course of a few hours, the party is like surprisingly well groomed and clean.
Okay.
And you notice that he's just being a lot more attentive to everybody.
Okay. I'm going to give you a 2. Talad, clearly you got the -2 for the defeated.
Yeah.
Were you injured?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. You ate plenty. And yeah, that's it. So you got a -2 on that. Okay. So here's what we're going to do.
So wait a sec. I have a minus. I feel like I'm doing at least as well. I'm doing way better than him, and at least as well as Yoshka. I was barely in the battle. Like I ran out and then like kept running ish.
So Yoshka had a -2.
Yeah.
You had a -1.
Okay. Okay.
Belvari, who's doing fine, had a 1. The highest any of y'all had was a 1, except for Toll and Inkatink. Toll got out, and I put him as not super invested in Oravan. And then Inkatink, I don't know. So 2, 2, 1, -1, -2, -2. Yoshka and Talad both were really impacted by this. And Diamondback was okay, but, it's lame. So, does that sound fair? I'm happy to shift.
I'm willing.
Okay. This basically tells us something like how well you sleep. I'll get better at doing this faster, and I'll just do it on my own, but I'm kind of getting a feel for it as well. Okay, so what I want you to do for me, please, everybody who wants to search for
Componentry?
shelter,
Oh.
look together. Here is the thing you should know about that. Good and bad rolls both impact your shelter. So people with better survival skills are probably the ones that should be like on shelter finding duty. If somebody has like a -6, then don't do it.
Okay.
My survival's +2. What's everybody else's?
Sorry, so one more thing. And the more people who do it, the better. But if you're bad at it, you can hurt. I will tell you what the survivals are for people who don't have their computers. Diamondback has a 2. Belvari's is loading.
5.
You have 5. Neno has 2. Inkatink is 0. Toll is 1. Yoshka is 2. And I don't have yours. Do you know?
Survival? Or
Yeah, your survival skill.
I'm
I
pretty
know
sure
I have
it's
your
just
computer.
like 2 or something. I mean, not 2, but like we'll just call it 0 for now.
Okay, so yeah, Belvari should definitely do it, and there's a couple of y'all with 2s.
Here's what. Okay, so if we find another one of those stone things, if you guys give me like 3-4 days, I could actually carve like a little crevice out of there with the tools that I have available.
What if
Obviously,
we had the time?
That's right.
Inkatink laughs at that duration of time.
The woods would eat us.
Diamondback,
In a few hours.
sorry. Diamondback, Belvari, and Neno have +2, +5, +2.
I
Yeah,
got
so I'll roll.
21.
Neno, do you want to help him look?
I do, yeah.
Inkatink give the help action
Oh, you
to
have a thing.
Neno.
Pardon?
No.
Okay.
19 for Diamondback.
13 + 2, 15.
21.
This is Belvari had a 21. Diamondback had a 19, and you had a
15.
15. Those are great rolls. Everybody passed it, which is good. And then, sorry, I'm getting used to this. A 0 for the weather. This is your first watch. You have spent 0 watches here, and
What did you guys do on Monday? We went camping. With our imaginations.
I just tripped over a tent stake. Ouch.
This is my camping stinks.
are you gonna take up the time to set up a proper camp, like have a fire? Sorry, with those rolls, you do find some good shelter. Let me describe that for you, and we'll take into account things. So, y'all rolled really well. As a matter of fact, what you end up finding is, especially Belvari and Diamondback go and they are find some stuff. Neno, you go over and help them. Together, what you find is what appears to be another one of these rocks, these stones, these carved stones. It's long and flat, and appears to be as though laying on the ground, but it's actually raised about 2 feet off the ground, making maybe 3 feet, 2-3 feet off the ground, making a long, narrow entrance that is maybe 5 feet wide, 2.5, 3 feet tall, so you can kind of crawl in. And you go into it, and you're under this hard piece of stone above you and a hard piece below you, and almost like kind of an igloo or an animal den or something like that. You go in, and though the opening is open, 6 or 8 feet back, it opens up into a place where all of you can go and sit. It's not like tall enough to stand, but you can get in there, lean against a wall. The walls of this place are the same kind of stone. Some of them are kind of like out of kilter from perhaps age. Dirt has kind of spread in from the front, so way towards the back, you can tell you're on stone, but it's dirty, just from being unused apparently. But it's almost like a carved cave. Not really big like a cave, but all of you can definitely sit in there, and not great ventilation. You may be able to figure out a fire if you can keep the place from filling with smoke somehow. I'll let y'all, or you could just have light, but no heat.
I can actually start a fire with Druidcraft and then also create a nice little breeze to blow the smoke out.
There you go.
This is exactly what I thought of.
What's what you thought of?
The cave.
Yeah,
Just take 5 days.
That's right.
Carve out a little.
Yes. Done.
So given that, do y'all want to, as you sleep, are you going to post guards?
So before we go sleep, as people are setting up camp, Yoshika starts singing them a song, and he says, "This is a song that my mother used to sing me after we had had a hard bout or some bad trades." And he sings this song about some turtles who got caught by some cruel children and then raced, and the children were really dissatisfied, so they threw them off. They threw them into the river, and then most of the song is just the turtles floating down the river. And the song kind of gets you in the mindset of a turtle, just like slow and smooth and scenery, and kind of. So, behind the scenes, the mechanics of this, I have this thing called Song of Rest, where everybody gains 1d6 hit points for a short rest. But I was imagining, since we're now factoring in emotions, I would probably be wanting to do this just to like
Emotional hit points.
soothe people's nerves.
That sounds good.
I don't actually want to start a fire, but I do want to have fire fixings prepared. I think we should have somebody on watch and leave it up to the discretion of that person if we don't know the weather here. If we're going to need the heat at night, they can make that call in real time. If there's a threat from having light, they will be better able to judge whether we should have a light or not than we sleeping ones.
Okay.
I have this torch for a night watch.
And having a torch is not going to be the amount of fire that would cause you breathing problems or anything like that in a space like this. So there's enough reasonable passage of air in this kind of long, low setting.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Well, Rory says don't sleep through snakes and immediately goes to sleep.
Okay.
Diamondback.
Go ahead.
Diamondback does not go to sleep right away, especially because we're setting up in the middle of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Diamondback gets Inkatink, and he digs into Spolash's pouch, and he gets out the components that Spolash said that he had, if they're actually there. I think he showed them to us. The components that the device requires to operate.
Mm-hmm.
And Diamondback gets together with Inkatink for Inkatink to help him operate this device, which will point the way to his focus.
Oops. Inkatink just left.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
So Inkatink looks at Diamondback and kind of rests back on his posture. Kind of doesn't step away from him, but kind of leans away from him and kind of eyeballs him left and right a little bit. And he takes out the device and he goes through the motions, perfectly replicates doing it, and then hands it to Diamondback and does the gesture for repeat.
Diamondback attempts to operate the device for, I think, maybe like the second or third time. He's already failed this a couple times.
Well, yeah, but you and I, Inkatink and Diamondback have been doing this in their spare time and their downtime. Like when there's
They've been practicing.
Yeah, Inkatink's been performing a part of it and then handing it to you, and you do part of it. He does the next part, you do the next part. Right? So hopefully he's been training you. And so he's looking to see what kind of performance you give when you attempt it.
And I'm going to tell you, Diamondback, you can do this. It is possible. But every time you try, it'll be a DC 20.
Oh man.
DC 20.
Belvari passed the DC 20?
Belvari didn't do it.
And what kind of what is that check like for me?
Inkatink, you can do it.
Okay.
It's a natural thing.
Oh yeah.
You're
So what's the roll?
a dexterity check. This is a lot of little tiny motions, quite intricate and involved. You can totally do it. It is possible.
How many uses of the spells involved did he have in his pack?
Inkatink is gesturing very clearly. Like when you go to reach for a component, he like puts his hand on your hand and blocks you and shakes his head no and does the repeat motion. And he's like communicating to you, do a dry run. Try it. See what you would get if you were to just do it.
I do the dry run.
Roll a roll a dexterity check, DC 20 to see if Inkatink approves.
14 plus 3 is 17.
Inkatink, interpret that how you will. A perfect 20, obviously, 17's close, but it's not going to do. And, if he got like a 3, you could slap him or something.
Yeah, well, you get like 3/4 of the way through, and you're like on the home stretch, and you do something, and Inkatink like places his hand on your hand with like lightning speed, and shakes his head no to you, and kind of steps back and says, "Do you see what I mean?" In the voice of some like kind of seedy, dirty businessman.
It is indeed quite difficult.
Let the bird do it.
You can do it.
All right. So, here's what happens.
Well, yeah, Inkatink is standing there staring at Diamondback, giving him like the arched eyebrow, and he's waiting for Diamondback to say something to him.
Diamondback is thinking. Diamondback goes to Yoshka.
Okay.
And he says, Yoshka, friend, there have been times when we've been in battle together or attempting some difficult task. And your music I've found strangely inspiring. I found I was able to perform much better because of your playing. Is there any chance that you could do that for me in this occasion? I wish to operate this device and it's very difficult. I'm asking him to give me bardic inspiration. He has bardic inspiration. He's used it before, right?
Let me look back at that. Is
Yeah,
that
he's
what
looking
that
at how it
does?
works.
I don't know what the negotiation
Oh, yeah.
between our DM and you is, but normally bards can just do it, but it might like disappear one of your components or something. I don't know. And this is not the kind of thing that Inkatink could help me with.
Yeah. He has helped you. He's made it possible. He's training you.
I'm trying to see if I have any spells.
This is Rubik's Cube level difficulty, right? This is the kind of thing you're trying to reproduce these steps, and it's not manifestly just like, hey, just turn this knob, pull this crank, and woo woo woo. It's
right.
it's
very difficult.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm gonna do it. So
Here.
Inkatink could use the components and operate the thing for sure, and then have access to the thing that points the way towards his focus, and possibly we could have another member of the party, Inkatink, who would be able to cast spells without using these components.
Yeah, and
Spell slots.
remember, Gary did it for Belvari, and the only thing Belvari needed to do was provide the third component, his blood. Whoever's blood is used in it, that's the one whose
Yeah, you don't have to
focus
limit
it points
Could
towards.
Inkatink do it for me?
Inkatink can do it for anybody.
I thought, okay, I didn't understand how it
I
worked.
told you not to sleep. There's snakes.
No, I give it to Inkatink. I say, Inkatink, I will use my blood and we'll use the components, and you operate the device for me, the way Garriott did it for our druid friend.
Diamondback, when you open Spolash's component pouch, it is not the same pouch he showed you that time. He had a pouch he was going to hand you, right, that had components that you wanted. but it does have components in it. Do you want to spend some time / detect magic-y stuff? We don't have to do it like in depth to identify what his components are.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking for the relevant ones, here's what you find. I'm going to roll quantities. That's what the rolling is.
I also, on our way from the second to last debacle to the present, most recent debacle, I was trying to gather exactly these components, but
Absolutely.
I never found out whether I actually got any.
Yes. I think I mentioned, but we didn't go in. You found locate object, a few. Sorry, I need to go to the recipes for that. Sorry, give me 1 second. Season 3. I'm a little bit laggy. I'm just going to search because I forgot Google Drive has a search.
And since it's Google, it'll probably work.
Okay, here's the thing, Diamondback. While you did find the recipes you needed, the stuff you needed for it, you did not find any Find the Path.
So we only have enough for one.
You have, I believe, Spolash, before you knew he was Spolash, he, in a friendly gesture, gave you 2 Find the Path components. Remember that time you asked Elephine and...
Oh, I thought we didn't get those.
This was the time you asked Elephine. Spolash found it amusing and handed you a couple just for fun.
Yep.
So is that enough for 2 uses of the device?
It is.
Let us use the device once.
Sure.
With Inkatink operating it, and Diamondback's blood, and get Diamondback, the wizard of the party, possibly able to use magic.
Sure. So, if you recall,
Yeah, go ahead.
you needed locate object, detect magic, which you have plenty of, and find the path. You do have locate object, which you have found. You do have detect magic. You have 2 find the path from Spolash so far. And then, of course, you need the blood of whoever's you're looking for. In this case, Diamondback. You'll prick your finger and put a couple of drops in.
Okay, so we will use one of those Find the Path, and I will put in my pouch the other Find the Path as a castable bundle.
And he's not going to prick his finger and add some drops. It's going to be awesome and gashy and fun.
I'm assuming at this point Belvaria wakes up from a long rest.
So Inkatink takes out 2 vials and asks for Diamondback's blood in one of the vials.
Yeah, so there's definitely like a ceremonial aspect to Snake Clan blood drawing. And it's like across the palm with the snake tooth shaped dagger makes like a curved cut. Not a straight one like, curved like a snake, like in an S shape.
So
to produce the blood.
Inkatink stabs himself in the hand with his beak, and you see him bleed into a jar as well.
Into a little file that you have.
Yeah, so he's got 2 identical files, right? And so he puts stoppers on both of them, and he holds them up to Diamondback, and he says, he begins to weave them around each other, in and out and over each other, but you can still tell which is which, but he's moving them around, and you see his hands disappear for a second, and they come back up, and you don't know which is which for sure.
If you pass a sleight of hand check versus my perception check, then I don't know.
That's fair to me.
I'll do that. I'll take that action.
I'll give you
My
odds.
perception is 5 in this case.
I'll keep
He's on
my odds.
fire! Literally.
My sleight of hand is 11
I think he put
plus
those flames
5,
out.
16.
Okay.
You sufficiently confused
Diamondback, you're sure you know which one's which.
Okay. So he takes...
Sorry, real quickly. Inkatink, is there chicanery going on, or is this fair?
as far as Diamondback is aware, he has no idea which is which, and that's
Yeah.
the point of it.
They'll be drawn to somewhere, and whoever
Yeah.
gets the feeling, that must have been their blood.
Yeah, so
So-
Inkatink looks at him. Can I make an insight check to see whether or not I know whether or not he knows? Or with that big of a gap, with a gap of 11, do I just see that I'm...
No, you can't make a. No, you don't know whether or not he knows. It's just you think he knows what's. He thinks he like doesn't know what's happening. Sorry, he appears not to know. Let me tell you this real quickly, Inkatink.
Okay.
You don't know what happens if you make a potion with Diamondback's blood, and you drink it, or vice versa. You're not. That doesn't necessarily mean that whoever drinks it is going to go towards the person's potion. Who? Do you see what I'm saying?
Right,
What if they
I do.
swap
Okay.
classes?
If we don't know which one the blood is made from, how will we know who shall drink the potion?
Wait.
You see,
We're not
you
doing
see
this right
Inkatink
now.
chuckle? You see
We're in a new
Inkatink-
slice of the pie. Remember what happened last time? We have to go searching. We need to get to know this land first. We can't do this right now.
Talad's gonna interject and be like, "Do what? I'm still really confused. What's happening here?"
Elvari rolls over so that his back is towards y'all.
I explain everything.
Right, so Inkatink holds out his two hands in front of Diamondback and gestures to him to pick.
Diamondback picks,
Okay,
and then Diamondback says to Yoshka, "Very well, we'll do it tomorrow."
do you pick the right or the left?
The left.
Alright, so he holds it
She's
out and
incorrect.
he holds the blood and he holds it up to himself and he hands Diamondback's blood to him. And
Which
he
one did I
goes,
pick?
you picked mine. And he
Okay.
hands your blood to you and he goes and he climbs up into a perch and makes a bed.
Sorry, are you
I said
leaving?
Yoshka,
Are you leaving the little enclosure that you're in to find a perch?
No, he's just trying to find the highest spot he can and making a...
Okay,
a
you're
place.
you're in something like a 4 foot square. Sorry, 4 foot high square that's about 6 feet on a side.
He goes, Diamondback says to Yoshka, "Tomorrow we will do the ceremony, and we will strike out in the direction that it indicates. We will do the ceremony for the bird man, if I don't kill him during the night."
You see Inkatink slips out. Can I make a stealth check? That's a 15 plus 5 is 20. I
What-
make a
what do you
20
wanna do?
I sneak out of the shelter and I go climb up the tree and I sleep up in the tree.
Okay, we will address that next time. But the differences in elevation and whatever. We're about to end right now. It's 9:58. But let me tell you the results of your rest. Based on your prior day's stresses, but having found really great camping conditions with those excellent survival rolls, everybody gets a long rest. Based on the restfulness of that rest and your coming to grips with the prior day, Toll and Inkatink also have inspiration, which is to say, as a game mechanic, lets them do extra well at some point the next day, or the next
Cool.
Do we
day.
get
Thank you
any
very much. I appreciate that.
experience points?
Yes, let's do experience. Okay. Give me one sec here. I've got my file. No, not that one. That is potion recipes. That's not what I'm looking for. Sorry, give me one sec. Oravan, that's what it is. Okay, you successfully, to my, as I have said, considerable surprise, but I'm glad. I'm really glad. You successfully, let's call it, sort of like defeated. You defeated the purposes of your captors, of your would-be captors.
Just while even.
Sure. Let's see. I'm letting Google Docs load. Sorry.
Is Diamondback salty that Inkatink just like, what is it, Kansas City shuffled him in front of everybody?
Not in front of Belvari. His back was to you.
Diamondback is very salty and might actually attempt to kill Inkatink during the night.
That would be cutting off his nose to spite his face.
Then Diamondback will never get to do magic.
As far as Talad knows, that's part of the ceremony. So
All you need to remember is don't sleep. There's
Oh,
snakes.
there we go. Crud.
I had a whole
And
part
failure
B
can be
planned
beautiful.
where we were going to take...
and the dice don't raise.
What was that?
The dice never
Inkatink
lies.
doesn't understand the kind of spells that Diamondback will be able to cast if he gets a real spellcasting focus and doesn't have to use these stupid components anymore. It's some crazy stuff.
Inkatink is helping you. The party's not ready.
Sorry, that doesn't have my experience. I will...
I got your back, man.
Ah,
If
there
I
we
get
go.
spells soon, I'm gonna go and try and find this fellow Garaton, see if I can join up with him and he'll give me power.
Oh my word. And that,
Okay, so we need
boys
to
and
tie him
girls,
up
is how
every night.
Diamondback and Inkatink both gain levels of Warlock in Garaton.
It might not be what you gain levels in. Sorry, I'm writing down the experience.
Gain levels in pain.
And how Nino converted an entire town to the ways of her god, whose name she never even had to use.
Just anything but the thing that's going on with Diamondback. Any other god.
By the way, Nino, did you ever decide on a name for your underwater god?
No, but I want to get on that.
The god of groundwater?
Oh, it sounds so
Guy.
lame like that. No, not the god of groundwater. That sounds like drainage, rough up.
The god of deep waters.
The god of wastewater inspection.
No, the god of the land water. The god of the land water. The water
Just name
that's
him Bob.
inside the heart water. Right?
Ooh, heartwater's good. It's definitely plural. Waters.
Mm-hmm. Heart waters, yeah.
All right, and I'm sorry, guys. It's a little laggy. That's why it's taking me a minute.
Why would you say different from... I mean, every once in a while we see some water dripping from the trees.
You should know, Neno, that angels have been battling in the heavens over the name of your god, and one of those angels proposed the name Ulwe, and the other proposed the name Jimmy. And fortunately, the angel that proposed Ulwe struck down the angel avataring Jimmy. So
You should be happy because we have a god named Karen for precisely this reason.
Oh dear, really?
QAREN.
Spelled with a Q and some apostrophes and stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
She's the evil god of shapeshifters.
quit.
She's a nemesis goddess. Her followers sometimes have like ears in the middle of their forehead.
Oh, yeah, that guy was
Werewolves
weird.
and stuff.
1, 2, 3. Sorry, how many people do we have?
A nose on either
1, 2,
side of their
3,
head
4,
so they
5,
can
6,
smell
7.
very binocularly.
Yeah, binocular smell.
Yeah,
All right.
Karen would definitely be into that.
yeah.
I talked with LT, and he told me how to do experience properly, so it wasn't just me doing my best to intuit the right experience.
Cool.
Which I have previously been doing. So here is your experience. That's right. Each of you gets the same experience, 532.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
What level is
Talad.
Talad at?
He was level 1. That
You're probably like level 3 now.
Nice.
today turned you from an ordinary town person to a level 2 adventurer in its
Nice.
drama and trauma.
I am literally. This is the second time I have been up ever. So
You got really grizzled
yeah,
really fast.
I'm halfway to level 4, baby.
I essentially grew a
Halfway there.
stubble. Just
That's right. And Talid, you actually probably would be doing well here because this feels like a tiny cave.
yeah.
Actually, Nano too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
she loves it.
Well, why don't we stop here? Does anybody else have anything else they want to add? If not, we'll stop here, pick up next time. Matt/Diamondback, I will populate Spolash's component purse for next time, and I'm going to put it in the DM's vault, which is you could let other people pick and choose from it, or maybe Diamondback's just going to keep it and not ask them. I'll let
I
you
mean,
pick.
that one's probably unidentified though, right?
I mean, if y'all are here if you go all through the night, y'all are going to be here for like 18 hours. So, there's
Just
time.
some identification.
Okay, we're going to stop here for the night. Thank you for listening, and we will pick up next time with them maybe finding a little bit more about what it's like to cozy up in the hollows of the flayed hands of Garatone. Have a good night.
I'm pretty know how to put my XP.
So Robert, I have a
In my
question
person.
for you.
Do it.
Off stream.
Okay, let me stop recording. Give me 1 sec.
And I got 450 XP with how much again?
Actually, well, Sir Robert,
5:30.
recording, but not by
No,
streaming.
this is
Okay.
where we just picture.
No, Ron and Eddie's like, never mind.
No, that's